chat, here's what I'd like you to do while we're getting this straight. Start putting questions in for Ben. We got 30 minutes with him or so. He did say he's willing to stay on with Eric if you guys wanted to do that, but that's up to you. And start putting in some questions, and when we get this volume right and I can hear Ben, we're going to go. Hey, Ben, someone just said you look like you rolled right out of bed. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, we can hear him now.
Can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him perfectly.
All right.
Can you?
Yep. So
Yeah, I got up about like 15 minutes ago.
Nice.
For this podcast specifically?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, he was pushing me. I tried to get him in at like 11:30. So he was in the chat last night when I was commentating, and he's like, "Hey, okay, I'll do 12." I goes, "Is there any way you could do?" I think I said 11. He goes, "I'll be there at 12." And I'm like, "All right."
Well, with a name like Blank Check Ben, you can make your own schedule, right?
Yeah.
I'm notoriously bad in the mornings. I'm a night owl. You know, I don't like getting up in the mornings.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hated to do it too today, but I had no choice here because this one flew in at like 6 a.m. What time did you fly in?
I got up at 5. My flight was at 6:30.
Yeah.
I live a whole life while you're sleeping.
That's true. That's true.
Nick was the last one here today.
I wake up organically. That's
Sorry?
Where'd you fly in from, Veronica?
Oh, I live in the Bay Area, San Jose.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
And you got up at 5 a.m. just for this?
Yes. I refuse. I want to sleep in my own bed as many nights of my life as possible. So that's why I do that.
What'd you do last night, Ben? How late did you stay out? How late did you stay out last night? Where were you?
I slept at 2 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't even doing anything. I was at home. Just chilling at home.
When's the next time you're going to be on the show? Are you playing this Friday?
No, I'm going to be traveling. So last week, I played on the show on Friday, and then I went to Vegas over the weekend, and then I came back to LA for a day, went to Austin for a couple days, came back to LA for a day. And tomorrow I will be off to Europe for 2 weeks. So the earliest I can come back to play on the show will be May the 12th.
Where in Europe are you going?
Going to the UK and then Italy.
Oh, is it just vacation? Or are you going to write blank checks everywhere? What are you doing?
I have a wedding to attend in Italy. A family wedding.
Hey, Ben, first question here from Poker Stiff is, do you have a stop loss in the $1 Million game?
Yeah.
What is it?
I'm not going to say.
Oh, come on,
what do you
Ben.
mean you're not going to say?
You're on a podcast, for Christ's sakes. Can we get a neighborhood?
Give us a ballpark.
Let's just say I'm prepared to lose a lot. Hopefully I won't, but I will be prepared. So if I lose the full $1 million on day one, I'm just going to come back on day 2 and I'm going to try again.
How many days are you going to play?
At least 2, maybe more.
Look, you need 3 buy-ins to prove yourself in this game. So you can't do 2. You have to promise us $3 million right here.
We got to at least have $3 million.
Yeah.
Can we get $3 million, Ben?
What kind of show do you think we're running here?
I mean, if I'm losing, if I'm down like $2.5 million, you can bet that I'm going to buy for more than 3.
Good. That's going to be.
Well, you're not going to get the money back if you don't keep playing, right? And increase the stakes.
Exactly. There's only one way to get unstuck, and that's to buy in more.
Yeah.
Ben, who are you looking forward to playing with most? And for what reason? Do you have a couple people that hey, I really want to play with this guy? It could be anybody, and what would be the reasons?
Well, I've played with most of them. At least the guys that have been announced in the lineup. I think that I'm familiar with most of them. There's a couple I haven't played with. So Rob Yong, for example, I've never played with him. I have seen him play on TV. He's great. He's awesome. He's very unpredictable, very action. Seems like a great guy, and I'm looking forward to meeting him. Chamath, obviously, everybody knows who he is. He is a titan in the world of business, and again, he's played on Hustler. I think he's played on other shows as well, and I've just never played with him. I'm looking forward to meeting him because, I think he's an awesome guy. the rest of the field, I have a lot of history with them. We're just going to be in a very interesting situation because with all of that history, I think there's going to be some leveling wars because we're going to be playing for like 5 times the stakes. So that's just going to be really interesting. So I'm just going to, go in there and try and adjust and adapt and, see how everyone's playing and proceed accordingly.
Yeah.
Is adjust and adapt synonyms for potentially being a little worried about the stakes?
Nah.
You're not worried at all? It wouldn't bother you to like punt $3 million?
Oh, of course it would. And hopefully I'm not gonna, but poker is a very unpredictable game. And, I've been in, much smaller games where I've punted a lot of money. So, I think the record that I've set, so Nick, that I've played on the Tuesday game.
Yeah, you set a record.
I set a record, right?
What was it?
And I think it was like 167 or something.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wasn't trying to lose 167, but
that was let's be clear, that was the 5-5 ante game.
That is correct, Nick. That is absolutely correct.
I think that I think that kind of like puts it more into perspective.
Exactly. How many big blinds is that? I don't even know.
Fuck, I don't know. You need a supercomputer.
You were a prime beneficiary of it.
Yeah, I was the number one recipient.
You were.
So wait, you lost almost $200,000 in a 5-5 game?
That is correct. Yes,
that is correct, sir.
Guilty as charged.
It's really funny because when Ben plays down, he loses more than when he plays up. It's
true.
I remember
the games are tougher as you go down in stakes. Just
he came.
It's true.
Yeah.
He came to the Hustler and he was supposed to play in the bigger game, or he was waiting for a seat. I forget what it was, and he jumped. He jumped in the 5-5 game we had down on the whatever, and he didn't know what to raise, what to do. He couldn't figure out the blinds. He was like totally discombobulated, and I think he dumped about 60.
80.
And then you went and played
80.
the big game.
Yeah, it was 80.
Oh,
I think what happened was I was waiting for a seat.
So listen,
I was waiting for a seat, and they told me, "Hey, come take a seat here." And Ryan says, "Hey Ben, it might be about 45 minutes to an hour. Just take a seat here."
Loosen up a little.
I did. Yeah, so I initially I said, "There's no way I'm playing this game. I'm gonna get wrecked." And the guys
said
were
that
like,
before you sat down.
I knew I had a really bad feeling in my stomach, and I knew that it was coming. So I had it in my mind. I thought, I'm just going to sit here for 30 minutes and maybe lose 10K, maybe 20. I ended up losing 80,000, and I went to the bigger game already steaming. I was so disappointed with myself.
He was
so
legit
tilted.
steaming from that before he went up to the big game. I remember you were fucking cranky as fuck.
So let me ask you, with a name like Blank Check Ben, I think I already know the answer, but just to clarify for the audience, you're going to have 100% of yourself in the $1 million cash game? Do you know if everyone is going to have 100% of themselves, or do you know if people are selling action?
That's a really interesting question, right? So I think that Rampage has announced that he will be selling action. I think I saw a link on Stake Kings where he was trying to raise over $1 million. I don't know the exact amount, but I understand that, obviously he's going to be selling a very large chunk of his action. The other players, I really genuinely have no idea. I really just don't know, right?
Does it bother you to think that like someone could be sitting at the table with only like 5% of themselves? Does it matter to you either way?
I would prefer that not be the case, simply because I think that the way I play involves trying to put maximum pressure on my opponents, and if much of that pressure can be alleviated by selling 95%, they're just going to be able to play optimally against me. And obviously that's not going to be good for me. It means I'm probably going to get called and I'm going to lose. But having said that, at the end of it all, poker is a game of big blinds, right? So in theory, somebody could come to the table and try and kick the game up to 50,000, 100,000 and buy in for $100 million. And then, I would, if I wanted to play in that game, I would probably have to sell action. And that person would probably have to sell action if the stakes were 1 million, 2 million, and there's just these numbers don't mean anything, because they're subjective, right? Like everyone has a price beyond which, their threshold of tolerance is crossed. I think that for the players sitting in this game, most, if not all of us, know exactly what we're signing up for. And, obviously it's a very big game. I understand it's the biggest game ever in the US, in the history of, televised poker in the US. So it's going to be unprecedented, but I think we're coming prepared. We know the risks. We know what can happen. But, if some of the players want to be selling action, I mean, I think that they should keep it to themselves, really.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea if they do. And most of the people playing.
You guys there?
Most of the people playing.
Now I can't hear you.
Oh, you have my mic off. Yeah, I took a call, so he turned my mic off. I'll just move it away from you next time. Yeah, I think most people probably won't, if they do, they just keep it to themselves. But most of the people on this list are pretty deep, so I don't think we're going to see much of that or have much of that. Ben, I want to make sure everyone in here keeps wanting us to thank you for your donations to our tournament we just had for the Chat Pros. Would you give 1,000 or what'd you do?
So I donated 2 free nights at a choice of hotels. So I gave them 3 choices. They could have had and still can have the winner. The winner's allowed to choose from 3 different hotels. So they can choose from 2 nights at the JW Marriott at LA Live. That's in LA. They can choose the Westin St. Francis in San Francisco. That's a very nice historic hotel. And they can also choose the Cosmopolitan in Vegas if they fancy a trip to Vegas. So I don't think the choice has been made yet, but for the winner, they're going to get a nice little staycation.
Yeah.
And I hope they have fun.
And I think you gave away like a shitload of memberships.
I did. I can't remember how many I gave away, but I think that, I don't know, probably 200-300, I'm guessing.
Yeah, the Chat Pro stuff. So yeah, they're grateful because they're just blowing this up, thanking you. So that's
I hope everybody makes full use of your Chat Pro memberships and chat. That's the whole point of being a Chat Pro is to chat. Chat's really important. I think that 80% of the show is chat. Chat's so fun. It's so lively. It makes the show so much better. And the difference between this and one of those boring pre-recorded poker shows is that you can chat. So please participate. And, I'm going to be working with the Hustler team to hopefully, introduce more donations and more benefits and more prizes. And, for things like Chat Pro free roll tournaments, please participate and try and win. Okay.
Okay, cool. And so can you see the chat? Because I have a request if you can.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So we're going to give something else away. We're going to let the person you pick go to pokerrags.us, Billy's website, and they can pick anything they want, one item. It could be a sweatshirt, it could be HCL, it could be the Nick Vertucci show, it could be high stakes poker, it could be anything, actually. So if you want to just point the finger at someone, Dana Craven will get a hold of them and we will drop ship it for them.
Okay. All right. I'm going to pick John Hebert, who says chat is a show in its own. All right. Congratulations, John.
Congratulations, John. Dana, jump on that like a fumble. Get that man's info, and let's let him pick from pokerrags.us, and we will drop ship the item of his choice and his size.
So, Ben, I'm curious, what would you be doing if poker wasn't in your life? What would your number one hobby be? I'm assuming this is a hobby for you. With a name like Blank Check Ben, I'm pretty sure you didn't make all this money playing poker.
No, I did not. I didn't. My number one hobby would probably be scuba diving.
Oh wow, where?
I love scuba diving. I've been scuba diving for 17 years, even longer than I've been playing poker for. And I'm a certified diver, and I try and dive like 4 times a year at least.
Where's your favorite place to dive?
I'm going to say I really like the Red Sea. It's really awesome. And I also really like Indonesia.
That's so funny. There's not a lot of overlap. I feel like poker, tends to fulfill one portion of a brain that likes strategy, but scuba diving is so different. What would you do to take up this strategy portion of your brain?
I think that, there are more similarities than meets the eye. I think that, with poker, you have to be present. You have to be calm. You have to be mindful. You have to be able to hear your thoughts, as they form, and be very deliberate about the decisions that you make in a situation that can sometimes be immensely pressurizing. And I think that, when you're scuba diving, it's pretty much the same thing. You have to be present. You have to be in your body. You have to be, very lucid in terms of, thinking about what you're going to do. And yet every single action has to be deliberate, intentional. You can't get overwhelmed by the pressure. And also, the stakes are very high, because if you make a misstep, it might be fatal. You might die.
You hear that, Nick?
Which part?
Be present. Be in the moment.
See, we are running a live show. So let's
Nick's
go here.
on his phone more than a teenager.
So check this out. When we're doing a recorded, produced show, if I look at my phone and act like, even for a second, that I'm not fully 100% attention on her, after the show's over, I fucking get cauliflower ear from the ass chewing I get. So, but what's happening now, Vicky, is I got somebody on the way texting me, so we're setting that up.
Is it Mr. Pearson's?
No, he's zooming in. And then we got Eric at 12, and so there's just shit going on, and that's why this, like...
I have to give him a hard time, Ben. Any opportunity I have to give him a hard time, I got to do it. So, Ben, where are you from? Are you from California?
I grew up in the Bay Area, but I was born in Singapore.
Oh, nice. Where in the Bay?
Menlo Park.
Ah, fancy. Okay. No. Well, Menlo Park back in the day wasn't as fancy, right?
It wasn't fancy at all. Yep.
Yeah. Now it's gotten a little more
Safeway,
fancy.
And I used to cycle to the Safeway to get like a can of Diet Coke.
Yeah. Phil Hellmuth lives in Palo Alto, although he's never invited me to a home game. Have you gone to any Phil Hellmuth games?
I have not, but I've been to his house. I've sat down in his living room and by his fire pit. We chatted for about 4 hours, and his wife was there, and she got us pizza, and it was great. He lives really close to where I grew up.
Yeah. Well, Menlo Park and Palo Alto are next to each other. Cool.
Yeah.
So you didn't get into the tech bubble like everyone else? How did you make all your money? Was it tech? I want to know everything.
Yeah, it was tech. I invested in tech.
Oh, okay. Just invested in tech,
lucky.
yeah?
Yeah, it's that simple.
Yeah? Just that easy, huh?
Yep.
You were a Facebook founder? Is that what you're telling us?
No. Not like that. No. If I was an early investor in Facebook, I would be buying in for $1 million every week and just going all in blind.
You sure would. Yeah, so Nicky Airball is going to play this Friday. I think he's got...
Oh, is he? He's back. His self-imposed...
Yeah,
absence.
He wedged his way into the Friday game. So I think he plays Poker Go Thursday, if I got this right. He's going to play HCL on Friday with Jungle Man and Hellmuth and various other people, and then I think he goes back to play Heads Up.
He does.
Yeah,
he does.
So there
very
you go.
Packed schedule: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and as I understand it, on Thursday, if I'm not wrong, the 4 of them are going to be at the table: Airball, Eric Person, Doug Polk, and the Bum. They're all going to be playing at the same table.
Who's the Bum?
The Bum. The Bum that wears a backwards baseball cap. That looks like a broke piece
Got
of
it.
trailer
got it.
trash.
Okay. Honestly, I wasn't
yeah.
even I wasn't even like joking when I said who. I remember now that
Yeah,
that
because he's so forgettable. He's so insignificant. He's like a little bug. You don't remember the names of the bugs that you squash, Nick, do you?
well, apparently I don't remember much, so I must have squashed a lot of bugs. Yes. So
Bugs, they just come and go, and sometimes they land on your windshield, and sometimes they're just collateral damage. Airball is a really cool guy, and I think that his star is on the rise. I personally didn't like him very much at the beginning, and I think that
me neither.
most people felt the same way.
It's so funny. I feel the same way. I just didn't like him. He rubbed me the wrong way. And as I got to know him, and he's got a great sense of humor. He doesn't take himself too seriously. He's great for poker. I'm starting to really be a big fan of his.
Yeah.
Sorry,
and
I interrupted you, Ben.
What's really cool about people like that is they wear their hearts on their sleeves. They're authentic. They're, genuine. They're real. And, in a city like LA, you don't get a lot of those. You don't get a lot of people like that.
Right.
It's so refreshing to see somebody literally say what they're feeling at all times, and yeah, he's brash. Yeah, he comes off as disrespectful. Yeah, he's loud and he's annoying, but he's really grown on me, and I think that I'm not alone in saying that. I mean, if you look at, who he has in his corner, for this heads up battle, if we can even call it a battle, he's got Jungleman in his corner. He's got Doug Polk in his corner. He's got Art Papazian in his corner. And all of these people, he was supposedly disrespectful towards. So I think that says a lot. And I think that, people watching, I think people have to be a little bit more open-minded. And, sometimes you just can't judge a book by its cover, take Doug, for example, right? Didn't Nick, remember when Nick called out Doug and said he was going to go to Texas to, beat Doug for so much money that he would own the lodge. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Yeah. So you know what it is? It's like this. Everyone thought that was like a real thing, and everyone's like, oh, whatever. But the truth is Doug was smart, and he was like leaned into it. It was an awesome thing. He got him a deed to the lodge when he left and made him an owner.
Hilarious.
And
Yeah.
and the same thing with like Jungleman. They're really good friends. They're not going to steal over his chips. Everyone thinks they hate each other, but they don't. Nick is a very likable guy. The only true beef is him and Matt. That's a real beef. That beef is not staged. Him and Matt.
Sorry, with who?
Matt Berkey.
Oh, you mean the bum? Okay, right.
Okay, you said it, not me.
What did you say?
That's
a
who he was
bum.
referring to earlier.
Well, so I think
Can you turn him up more? Volume. Go ahead.
from what I see is that like a lot of people can laugh at themselves, like Doug Polk, like Jungle Man, like him and Jungle had a bit of tension, but it was all in good fun. And at the end of the day, everyone can laugh at themselves. But Berkey is the one person who in this whole thing, although I understand his perspective, he hasn't been able to lean into it and laugh at himself. And he's taking it so seriously, which makes people pile on him more. That's the only criticism I have. I think Berkey is a good person. I think he means well. I think he has good intentions. He's not a scammer, but he's not leaning into this, and it's making it worse for himself, I think.
He walks around like he has a cork stuck in his ass at all times. He's so uptight. He takes himself so seriously. He thinks
how
he's
you
so
really feel.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a show where you can really let it all hang out, Ben.
No, I think he's a bum.
Why do you
And I
think
think
he's a bum?
that in about 5 years from now, when his absolute fraudulentness is exposed and everybody knows that he's not really a poker coach, and his poker coaching side isn't even making any money. It's running at a loss, right? And when he finally loses all his backers and finally loses all his money, I think he'll be homeless.
Well,
we both just stared at our mic.
I had a punchline, but you just stopped my punchline.
Sorry.
I said if he's great and bad, he won't be homeless.
No, he's going to be homeless because people with personalities like that, with such massive egos, they're not going to be able to humble themselves. They're not going to be able to, actually seek out opportunities because everywhere he goes, he thinks he's the smartest person in the room. He could be going to a lecture, by a professor in astrophysics, and he will try to lecture the professor. That's just how he is, right? He could be going to like a World Economic Forum summit and listening to, a speech by the chairman of the World Bank, and he is going to try and teach the chairman about economics. That is how this guy is, right? So, I don't think that he would get hired at In-N-Out. And if I owned an In-N-Out, I would not hire him.
Vicky, so a certain person is going to think that I set this up. I didn't set this up. Ben, why? Like, why the disdain?
You want to hear what Eric has to say about the bum?
Well,
he's up next.
Why?
Well, he's coming on. I'm going to leave you on with him, and you can ask him because I don't.
I'm curious where this came from. I didn't even realize that you had a beef with Berkey.
I didn't really know either.
He called me out. I didn't have any beef with him. He was just an insignificant speck to me. And, I went to Vegas to lend support to my friend, Nick Airball. And I was so freaking respectful. I wasn't even speaking to, the bum. I was in the poker room speaking to my friend, Marcus Gonsalves. And we were having a nice conversation. And I was asking a few questions. I wasn't even speaking to this guy. And he tries and, talks shit about me on his podcast. And,
I know now.
That's what it is.
I remember that.
Right.
In a recent
if he
podcast,
can dish it out, he better be able to take it. But he's not able to take it because the guy is so.
In a recent podcast, he was mocking some of the HCL people, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And who's next? Blank check, Ben. Let's go. Heads up. So it was something like that, right? Was that it, Ben?
He wants to play heads up. Is that what he said? I don't watch the
well,
content.
I thought that's what you were referring to. So I don't.
No,
know.
I don't know. I don't watch his stuff because I have better things to do with my time. I mean, right now, look, I'm sitting in my courtyard. And I'm staring at this beautiful bamboo. I would rather watch my bamboo grow than spend time watching his silly podcast.
Okay, well,
it's so much more important to me. Watching bamboo grow is so much more important. It's like a real urgent priority compared to listening to this guy talk.
Eric Pearson, we're talking.